We are live.
Hello,
We are
hello.
live. Yay, we are live.
We're live and we're back. I feel like it's been a couple weeks since we've been live. It's nice to reconnect.
Yeah, we did go. Yes, we were away for 2 weeks. It feels like it's been like 2 months. I don't know
I
why.
know. Doesn't it feel like it's been a while?
Yeah, this whole live thing still feels new now.
Yeah, but we're here. We're back, ready to answer some burning dating questions. We have a really good one that came through today that's very, very relatable to, I am going to gander, many people out there.
Many, many. And the question is when they lose interest after the first date, why does that happen?
So many reasons. I mean, I guess I think first and foremost, like who hasn't been there that you go on that date that you're like, oh, this was a killer first date. We had a great time. Maybe and even ended up with a steamy makeout sesh. You are for sure thinking there will be another date and then crickets. There is not.
Mhm.
Or that you get that dreaded like there wasn't a connection. I mean, I think some of it could just be that our perception and reality of what it was for the other person are different. We've done a lot of dating experiments on the podcast before where, we have one person that's like, this was amazing. And the other person be like, nope, not the same date. And they'll even recount the date, and the perspective is so different. So I think that could very well happen, that the chemistry that we perceived wasn't really there. But then there's also all the personal reasons that could be going on in someone's life that really have nothing to do with us. I think for years, I would take things really personally and assume that the reason why a date didn't go into the next is because something I did, or they didn't like me, or they didn't think I was attractive, or whatever it might be. But the reality was, I had no idea what was going on for this person. We'd only met for an hour.
First dates, I don't know. Maybe this is kind of the wake up call we all need to hear. First dates really aren't indicative of anything other than real time connection. So yes, you could have a real time connection with someone on a first date, have a really good time with them. We've also had these friends at some point in our lives, like a really good time going out with them, and then it just doesn't keep going. I think first dates are not indicative of whether someone could be a great partner. They're not indicative of whether something could last. They're not indicative of someone's intentions. It's purely, and we've called this before, it's a meet and greet.
Yeah.
You can have a great meet and greet, but it doesn't mean that you're going to keep meeting and greeting them.
That's what I was gonna say. I think we almost need to like rebrand first date. And I think with dating apps, especially because it feels like we're meeting in a dating context, or even maybe this holds true for speed dating or singles parties or anything that's under that like single and meeting context, that
Hmm.
there's this like very high bar for the first date. Like we're going on a date. This is like, is this going to be my person? And it's like we need to lower that bar a lot to, I'm just meeting another human being and seeing if I even jive with them at all. Like, I don't need to know their life
Hmm.
story. I don't need to know if they're going to be like the perfect partner for me on date one. Do I even like this person? Do I even enjoy being
Yeah.
in their presence? We have such a high criteria, and we see that people need to like jump through hoops to even get to that first date. And then when the first date doesn't go well, it's very demotivating. But I think if we didn't
Yeah.
have that like criteria in the first place, if we're like, let's just meet people, bring back some of that organic meeting, then it would either go to the next date or it wouldn't, and it would feel as like dire.
Maybe we could just say first dates are a scam. It's like propaganda.
Yeah.
It's been scamming us for centuries because we romanticize the first date. Think about all the movies. It's always like about that romantic first date, or even when you're talking to your friends, or like, with a couple, people always ask about, tell us about your first date,
Yeah.
as if it's some momentous event. Like, oh my gosh, our first date. There's some story to it. I put first dates in the same category as meet cutes. They're just purely Hollywood, such a scam. They're not indicative of anything, but we hold on to them way too much.
Yeah.
Who cares how you met? Like, yes, it could be on Tinder or it could be in the grocery store.
Right.
It doesn't make it any better or worse. Who cares, like, if your first date was so amazing? And I think we've said this in previous episodes. I've been on some amazing first dates that lasted so long and it was like so affectionate and really felt a connection. And that's all they were,
Yeah.
just really fun first dates. So let's stop romanticizing them and start seeing them for the scams that they are.
So romantic.
So romantic.
I feel like though when I went on the first date with my partner, the next day I met up with my best friend and she was like, "Oh, do you think there'll be a second?" Like
Uh-huh.
all this
Uh-huh.
stuff. And I think the old me would have had like a lot of expectations tied to it because I
Yeah.
was like, "Oh, we jived and yeah, I like thought he was attractive and like wanted to go somewhere." But I think after doing this podcast and really like coming to terms with maybe it being more of that first meet and greet and not a
Mhm.
date, I was like, if we do go on a second date, that'd be fantastic, and if we don't, I'll also move on. It's
Yeah.
gonna be okay. And I think where this came from is it almost doesn't matter the reason why, like,
No.
it didn't turn in to another date. Because I feel like I'd been in so many situations where I either thought for sure it was going to result in the next date, or I thought like it or it didn't, and I was like, what happened? Was it that they just like didn't like me? Was it something I did or something I said? Like all these like
Yeah.
rumination spirals, and it could have been, or it could have been like they weren't ready, or they realized I wanted something more than they were willing to give, or like they put a lot of emphasis on this immediate spark and it wasn't there, and I was more willing to let it grow. Like there could have been so many different reasons. And I think I kind of let go of that at that point, that I was like, I don't know this person that well. Like we
Mm-mm.
met 1 hour and I have no idea. He could be dating 10 other people. He could be having someone that he's like close to defining the relationship with. He could not be ready for a relationship. I don't know him. And I think having that reality check was really helpful for me, someone that identifies as a dreamer too, that really can get ahead of themselves, because it made it that like that I wasn't seeking the answer to it anymore. Like when we ask these questions, trying to find the answer, the reality is you and I don't know why the person that maybe
No.
said that they wanted another date, or you went on a date with that you thought was going to go somewhere, didn't. We don't know. We don't know what's going on with that person. But ultimately, if it doesn't result in another date, it's just leading you in a different direction. And that's more important than like why that didn't happen.
When you try to seek answers, you're actually just trying to get to know what's out of your control. And what is the point in that? Trying to seek answers in something that's out of your control. So why don't we reframe that and put everything into buckets of what's in my control and what's not? What's not in your control is what's going on in their life. You have no idea. Like Julie said, they could be someone else, they could be going through something at work or in their personal lives. We have no idea. That's out of your control. What's in your control is, okay, do I like this person? Do I feel like I want to see them again? And if that's the case, what's in my control is I can send that text of saying,
Yeah.
I had a really great time, would love to see you again. Or you can say, I I had a really great time. I just don't see this going anywhere, and really like it was great meeting you. That's in your control
Yeah.
because that's something you can take action on. So many times we waste our we waste our breath just talking about everything that's out of our control.
Yeah.
And we don't take enough action on the things that are in our control. Your first date, it doesn't matter. I totally agree with you, Julie. I don't think it matters the reason. And there's absolutely no reason for us to even help you
Yeah.
understand why something didn't work out after the first date. What we can help you do is lead you towards what's in your control. And then, hey, if they sent back that text like, oh, it's nice meeting you too, had a great time. I just don't see this going anywhere. Great. Now you
Yeah.
know. Let's move on. So you don't spend all that time dwelling on what's out of your control.
And there's no shade if you're the type that has been ruminating and wondering and writing these types of questions in, because we were both those people one day.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it actually takes having these experiences to finally realize it's not worth it. It's not worth the time to analyze and to understand. I can think of two examples where I dug deep and really stalked people and was like,
Uh-huh.
why did these people not want to go on another date? It seemed like
Uh-huh.
everything went well because I think I had the history of putting it on myself. Like, I'm unworthy.
Sure.
Why are they don't like me? And I found with two people that I'm thinking of, they both ended up like meeting people. And I don't know what the crossover is. They could have been dating
Mhm.
this person before they even went out with me. And now they're like married to these people. And
Yeah.
it's like either way, whether they met them first or even if they met them right after me and that person became their person, like,
Yeah.
that really has nothing to do with me at the end of the day. Like, they met
No.
someone that was a better fit for them, or things developed to be a better fit. And I think that was really validating in a way to see, like, okay, it's hurts in the moment, but we only went out once. It's not like there was this like big decision factor. And then I also had the example of my ex too that we did it was a relationship. So it's not a perfect example, but I think things ended because
Mhm.
of like mental health and things that honestly had nothing to do with me. And for a while it was even hard for me to accept that cuz I'm like, of course it has to do with me. If they're saying they don't want to be with me, then it's because of me, right? But I think
Mhm.
sometimes it is, and that's again okay. Not everyone's going to be your person, but sometimes it's not. And that's also just the reality, and they're not your person because it's not the right person.
It's not the right person. It really isn't. I can also think of an example of this first date I had with someone. I think I met him on like Bumble or something. Oh my gosh, so many years ago. We had this really hot first date. I remember just being like, oh my God, I'm so into this guy. And even on the first date, he told me about this 5-year relationship he had just
Mhm.
gotten out of because the two of them wanted to see what else was out there because they had only been with each other. And, I remember just being like, "Oh my god, he's so, like, open-minded, and he's at a perfect place in his life right now." We ended the day being like, "Oh, I'd love to see you again." Even saying those words, right? Like,
Yeah.
"I would love to see you again." But then never heard from him ever again, and I never that was the point in my life where I didn't reach out after dates, so I wasn't even the one asking or initiating anything, I just kinda let it disappear. Never got the answers. But then when I restocked him on Facebook, I think it was like a few months later, he had gotten back together with
Yeah.
the ex, and now they're married, kind of like similar to your story. And then I kind of felt good about that. Like, okay, I helped facilitate this love and
Right.
kind of sucks that I'm roadkill in all of this, but I get it. In some relationships, you kind of need to like veer away from each other in order to come back again.
Mhm.
And yeah, I was in that phase, but at least it made me feel better because I was like, okay, I'm not standing in his way of true love.
Yeah, and also it's like it could have been that he went on dates and realized like, "Oh, this person actually is the person for me."
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
the assist that you were talking about. Or the other
Yeah.
side, the assist. I like
Yeah.
that.
I love that.
Or the other side of it is you can't compete with a 5-year relationship. Like when you've
No.
been on one date, because I think this happens a lot too, is someone that's getting out of a relationship or has been the relationship type, they go on a date and maybe you are more experienced as a dater and you're like, oh, that was a great date. But to them, they're like, this isn't the connection of my 5-year relationship. And it's like, of course it's not. It's a first date with a stranger. So you just don't know where anyone is when they're coming in. And I think that actually is like very liberating to know that like it really isn't about you at the end of the day.
No. No, because everyone's just living their lives. You probably helped them like, I felt like I helped him uncover his love
Yeah.
for his ex, you know? That was my assist, that was my purpose in that connection. But I also see that he also helped me unlock the side of me that was like this generous side that felt like, okay, I don't need to be with someone who doesn't choose me and I don't need to
Yeah.
dwell on this.
Yeah.
And now I have a great answer for why it happened. But even if I didn't have the answer, why would I choose to be with someone who doesn't keep communicating with me
Right.
after a date?
That's what I was gonna say. It's like even if it was quote unquote like you did, which is all subjective, but let's say like the
Yeah.
conversation didn't flow or you said something that was offensive to them or a turn off, do you really want to be with someone that views you that way? No, it's just not
No.
the right fit. And it's not like either party did something wrong. It's just not right. I think we
Yeah.
forget that dating, the process of dating is to find the right person. And most people
Yes.
we date are not going to be the right person. So when someone passes on you, that's okay.
Yes.
And I don't know, I always think of this episode in How I Met Your Mother where they were like, only like 0.0001% of the people are the one. And, like the one, right? It's like by default, that's only one person. They're like, would it be better to tell someone like you're not the one? And like, and it was kind of funny because like you can't say that to someone, but it really actually it's like you could say that to someone. Like like most people aren't gonna be the one. And it's okay if they're not the one. But I get it.
Plus,
It would be
yeah.
really hard to hear that.
Well, I mean, I've heard people say, like, "You're not my person." Would you be offended if
Yes.
you got that text?
Uh, I
"I
don't
had
know.
a really great time with you. It was great getting to know you. I just don't think you're my person. So
How
good
much
luck."
do you like the person and you're getting that?
After
Like
a
if you
first
like
date. After a first date.
yeah. I mean, again, if I like came out of that date thinking it was like amazing, would it devastate me for a long time to get that text? No. Would it be
Right.
like a little bit of an ego blow in the moment?
Oh,
Absolutely.
yes. Yes. I would reply with, "But you're my person.
Yeah.
How could that be?"
I mean, I think all of this is an ego blow. And we're not saying this to like minimize the feelings because it really is really shitty, especially in those situations where it feels like it's going to be another date, where you've either had that conversation and then it just ghosts, or they
Mhm.
come back later with a change of heart. I think those to me were some of the worst ones because you're
Yeah.
like, wait, what happened in like the couple days since we went out that really changed this completely? And the reality is sometimes things just go on in this person's life that have nothing to do with you or,
Yeah.
the I guess the fallout of the date. They didn't feel the same way that they did in the moment. Or maybe they were just being polite. Like again, there's so many reasons why something could happen. And it's honestly just like not worth our breath to analyze them. Although it does
Mm-mm.
make good stories because I think of the time where you found the guy that ghosted me after that.
Oh, yeah. It's like it's such a good story. And now he's married to that
Yeah, he's
ex?
married to this girl.
Yeah.
But this was
Alright.
an example of one where it was like very like left on that note, like we are hanging out again.
Yeah.
Like we
Uh-huh.
kissed, like he
Uh-huh.
texted the next day. I was like the one that had to like end the convo because I was at work.
Yeah.
Like it felt very much like the momentum was going. And then
Mhm.
all of a sudden he just ghosted. Like he was
Yep.
gone. And UA found him. UA found him on Bumble.
On my fake profile, and I tracked his distance. I was like, "Well, he's alive
Well,
because
because
his distance is
I thought
changing."
something happened to him. I was like, what happened to this person? But it's like, I guess the example of like, you just don't know what's happening for someone. And you tried to bait him in with your fake profile. He didn't take the
Yeah.
bait.
He
And then
didn't take the bait.
after other
We
stalking,
matched. We
you
matched,
did
but he wouldn't
match and you
return
did
my
talk.
messages.
Yeah, we wanted to send him on a date and have no one show up. It's
Yeah.
like looking back on it, it was very entertaining at the time, but also like
It's
not
so
really worth our time. Like I'm not advising people to do this.
but also, like, ew, he just, like, wanted to match with all these people just for his ego. Ugh.
I mean, to me, again, like he clearly was with someone. I think from our research, it seemed like they had been dating for a bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And who
And maybe there
knows
was a little
why
break.
there was a break or something. So great. But I think also the other side of it is even if I didn't know any of that, I want to be with someone that can text and say, or not even text, just bare minimum communicate. Like that
Communicate.
they like don't see this going somewhere. And
Yeah.
just to like leave someone on red and ghosted, that just shows me so much about the character of that person
I
that makes
know.
me not want to go on another date with them anymore. So I think when we turn it to that of like this person is revealing themselves and this
Yeah.
actually isn't someone you want to date anymore, that just shows that we're both opting out of this.
You know what's most frustrating and confusing is when they don't it's a great first date, then you don't hear from them, and then months later,
Oh, they pop back up.
they hit you with the, "Hey, long time, no talk."
Something didn't work out for them. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're like, "Bro, like, are you are you lonely now, or did you break up, or what?" I don't see that as a sign of fate to bring you
No.
together. I think this is just someone who is probably a little codependent and
Yeah.
can't be alone.
I do think of though, UA, like that date that we had you go on Dateable that
Mhm,
we always talk about with Andrew, that it started
mhm.
off not great and then it turned around
Yeah.
and like you guys ended like in a makeout and like it was a good date. But you
Mhm.
were pretty far along with your person that became your boyfriend. But you
Yes.
guys hadn't defined the relationship at that point,
Yeah.
but you had like
Mhm.
gone on more dates. And I feel like if that person wasn't in the picture, you would have gone on another date with this guy.
That's a good point. Yep, I would have.
So it really has zero to do with that person. Like you just had no idea where
No.
people are.
No. Yeah, I mean, seriously, I had no expectations for that date. I didn't realize there was gonna be a great connection, but I also had a stronger connection with someone I had already been dating.
Right.
So there's no comparisons. Like, well, it's way stronger with the person who has been here.
Yeah, and that's kind of like unless you have like a mind-blowing connection with someone on a first date, most of the times if you've been on like 5 plus dates with someone, you're going to have a better connection with them over the person you just met.
I think this is what how do I put this? I think this is why people cheat, and this is why they get blinded by the cheating.
Mm.
It's because let's be totally realistic. You're not just going to have a connection with one person in your lifetime. And the commitment comes from, yes, staying faithful, but also honoring that your connection with your partner is special.
Yeah.
And I think even in that blind date that I went on with Andrew, there was a connection. It was like very, there was a lot going on there, but I also had to recognize that he was not my partner. I don't think I could have seen a relationship
Yeah.
with him. It was just a great connection that night.
Yeah.
And the guy I ended up with was someone who was a partner for me. So this is why I get really sensitive about the whole infidelity thing because there's always going to be temptation, always going to be
Yeah.
connections pulling us in different directions because it's just energy. Everybody's energy. But we have to honor the people we're with and that history and that connection that we built together. That's not something you can build with someone overnight.
That's a really good point too that like sometimes the most fun dates I've experienced don't always end
Uh-huh.
up into the next ones.
Yeah.
Because it could be like that situation where the person had a good time and there was a
Yeah.
connection, but they weren't like, this is who I'm gonna end up with. Or it's not like into that like serious bucket. And I think that's
Yes.
normal. And I think sometimes I found, speaking for myself only here, when I went on dates that involved a lot of alcohol, I thought there were more connections maybe than
Yes.
actually were ones that could be relationships. Like, I think at a period where I was drinking more, I was going on a lot of dates. And some of that was probably just like the mindset of serial dating too. And a lot of them didn't go anywhere. And it probably was a fun night, but it wasn't maybe like relationship material.
I think about the other episode we did with Shelby. Remember, we
Hmm.
set up this woman, Shelby, on two blind dates. There were obviously first dates. And one guy took her on this adventure. I mean, they like crashed a house party.
Yeah.
They went bar hopping. They made out. And the other guy just had a serious conversation with her over dinner. And she felt more drawn to the first guy because
Yeah.
she felt like there was immense chemistry and so much excitement. Then when we interviewed him, he was like, yeah, it was a fun night. Like we
Yeah.
crashed a house
Yeah.
party
Yeah.
and we went, but she's like, not for me. It was
Right.
right?
Ah,
And it was so different because the second guy, I mean, you can argue none of them are a match for her, but the second guy was actually serious about getting to know her and was like a
yeah.
proper date. And the other guy was just like, let's just have a good time. Let's go party.
Okay,
She
this
chose
is
him.
really telling me that we need to bring back these experiment dates because they
Yes,
were
they're so
so
fun.
fascinating. So if you are interested in participating, please email us and we'll find you a date because we love these. And
And
I feel like we have.
email us your name and your city so we
Oh
can
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
match
we need like some
accordingly.
info on you.
Yeah,
Like tell us what
please.
you're looking for and something about you. It can't just be like,
Yeah.
"Hi." Or we're going to give you send you a follow-up email with that info. But I think we need to bring this back because I do think it helps people see the reality of first dates and how that reality can be so different.
Yes. Yes. I will always remember that. She was so into that guy.
I
Oh
know.
my god, we just like we made out. And it was like such a fun night. And when we interviewed him, it couldn't be any more different. He's just like, yeah, I mean, I do this all the time.
Well, that's another part too of
That's
like you
yeah.
don't know how like flirty someone is in general. So like to
Yeah.
you, it might seem like there's a lot of interest, but they could be like making out with every date they have. You don't really
True.
know.
Yeah. Or just
But
random strangers.
with Shelby in that example, soon after she was in a relationship with someone else that was like clearly a mutual reciprocal
Mm,
relationship. So I think that really just shows you that like look, like the reality is 99% of people aren't going to be your long-term match.
no.
And we need to just
No.
accept that instead of taking it personally. Speaking from as someone that used to take it very, very personally, but instead of being like, I have a third date curse, it's just like, look, most first dates aren't going to turn into another one.
Mhm. Yep. And to the question of why do they lose interest after the first date? We don't know. You don't know. Nobody knows. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Treat first dates as a meet and greet. You're just getting to know someone. If you have a connection, that is a connection that stays within that first date. It doesn't mean it's going to translate into a relationship or even a second date, but honor it, recognize it for what it is. And if you want to see them again, you drive that
Yeah.
conversation and you get the answers. There is no
Yeah.
point in dwelling, ruminating, and trying to be a psychic guessing what their answer could be.
And if you're going to stalk them, do it on Venmo because that's where you really see the action go down.
This is when I knew Julie had more powers than I thought. When she's like, look them up on Venmo. I'm like, damn, girl, that's savage.
Sometimes you need to just, you do you.
I, hey, listen, I look at my Venmo all the time. I keep all my transactions private, but I love looking at
Yeah.
Venmo transactions, just being like, huh, that's interesting. My friend Venmoed her husband for a haircut. Like, why? Like, did he give her the haircut or did he pay for her haircut? I'm so confused, but I love it. I love looking at just being such a nosy person looking at other people's Venmo
I feel like
transactions.
I've done that before. It's because I got cash out of the ATM
So
for the
good.
haircut.
So good. I'm like, wow, what
You
could be
learn a
going
lot.
on there?
You learn a lot. But then you also recognize when there's a line that you're like, this is not actually productive and
Right,
helping
right.
me, and
Right,
it's
right.
time to let it go. But if you do it, or you're the what in the thick of it now, it's okay. We've all been there.
Yeah. Do it for your friends. Go Venmo stalk people you don't know for your friends. So there's no connection, there's no relationship there, and it's just purely for entertainment.
Okay, well, that's a good note to end on. So
Is it? Is it a good note to end on?
have your friends do the stalking for you is the takeaway of this episode.
It's a takeaway. Thanks for that question and send in your questions. What do you have a
Yeah.
burning dating question we love to discuss? You can actually leave us a rating and review, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, give us 5 stars in Apple Podcast. And in the body of your review, you can ask a question there and we will bump up your question to the top of the list.
Yeah, and make sure to check out the book, How to Be Dateable. That's on hardcover, audiobook, Kindle. Think after reading that book, your perspective of this question will greatly change. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
cool.
See y'all next week.
Bye.